So it's officially Black History Month. Meaning I should probably change out of this shirt that I used for painting. So let me just kind of go out of frame. There's something nice and ethnic and colorful. But so Valentine's Day happened. It's Black History Month, arguably one of the worst Black History Months we've had in a while. Katherine Johnson just died. We saw G-Eazy kissing up on Megan Thee Stallion. Well, it's Kobe Bryant. It's been a really rocky month. So I decided to go on a date on Valentine's Day and see The Photograph. And kind of what I want to talk about with this video, since I said I wanted to do something for Black History Month, so let me do something for Black History Month, is the concept of Black movies and like mediocrity. I don't know. I'm just gonna talk. I love this movie. I think it's fantastic. I love the cinematography. I love how simple it is. I love the music, the way it's shot. I love the kind of contrast in the acting and the parallels between the stories. There are even things that I didn't think about before that I thought about after. I don't think it's gonna win like a bunch of awards or anything. Maybe some NAACPs, because you know why. But I think it's just a great romance film because it's simple. It's nice to see two dark-skinned Black people in love, and there's essentially no real major stereotypical drama. Like there's no gangs, no police violence, no real racism or oppressive regime going on. They're just happy and Black, or just Black and sometimes complex, or having weird conversations, but there's no huge arguments that happen with this couple. They're a weird dynamic too. I kind of get the feeling that Lakeith Stanfield was definitely picked for Michael, but Issa Rae wasn't the first pick that they had for May, but I think they went with her just because the two of them, their chemistry is specific, so it's not like who you would expect him to be opposite with. Maybe like a Tessa Thompson or something like that would have been a very different. So the way the performance comes out is very, not nuanced, but like intriguing. It's two kind of weird-ish people. If you've seen them act in anything else, so they're a little odd. They have their unique quirks and they kind of play off each other in a really good way. But I see that it's kind of getting average reviews, which is it's a romance film dropping in December on Valentine's Day. It's like, what do you expect? But like nonetheless, in terms of its relation to like Black mediocrity, I feel like this is an important movie on the fact that there's kind of not much room for a lot of Black movies to be just fine or okay. Every year we have like at least 3 different Black dramas and thrillers that come out, and they're all kind of garbage. Really talented people that do just trash movies or stereotypically bad movies. Even like my favorite actors and actresses, everybody's done one. Everybody's done a bad Black thriller. We have like all these movies about racism and blah blah blah. Candyman, the new sequel, is coming out this year, and that's intrinsically tied to slavery and then weaved into horror, which I'm excited for that. But nonetheless, there's so much that just has to do with like the Black experience tied to trauma rather than just us being normal people. And I feel like it's important to just kind of have that space for Black people to just be normal and fine and have us do normal things. Lil Rel Howery had a show, not a good one, but there's an episode, and every episode in that series had a theme. I don't think it well executed it, but I admire them for trying. There was an episode where they kept going back to this movie that just had the weirdest plots of like Harriet Tubman freeing slaves, fighting vampires, and zombies showed up, and I can't even remember, it was so bad. And they're just like, you know what, maybe it's okay that some movies are just not great. Black people can just be, have okay movies, and some movies aren't the best. And I feel like with a lot of Black films, it's either like amazing, groundbreaking, or it's garbage, or it's either great or it's really bad, but it's really entertaining. And somewhere in there is, I feel like a lack of discussion about what is black film. I listen to the Mike Still On podcast, which I love and think it's a great show. They also have one of the other shows, Frames Per Second, which is their film and TV podcast. And they're talking about like, what is black film? So me personally, I believe that black film is anything that resonates very strongly to black culture. So it doesn't specifically have to be like written or directed by black people for black culture to kind of take it in. And that's usually what I consider black film. So like Get Out is a black film. The Lion King is a black film too. A lot of black people love The Lion King, despite the fact that the lions are played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and or Simba's played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Matthew Broderick, two of the like whitest people of all time. But we love The Lion King because James Earl Jones plays Mufasa, and then everyone just forgot about the new Lion King, even though it had fucking Beyonce in it. So yeah, that's an example of black mediocrity right there. Lion King. There's a lot of movies that I feel like there's not. I feel like that kind of encapsulates it. So like Straight Outta Compton was written by white dudes, but NWA helped produce the movie, and a lot of members of the culture liked it. So took it on. I think there's a lot of nuance that goes into black films that sometimes get just missed by a majority of critics. So like a lot of movies that we herald as classics, so something like Love Jones or Baby Boy, which I hate, but a lot of people seem to like it for some reason, or Love and Basketball. A lot of love movies. Deliver Us from Eva. I'm trying to think of some movies that like aren't related to race or slavery. Just very hard. But movies like that, they're just things that really resonate to us on a cultural level, and I don't think that exactly always comes across. And The Photograph is an interesting take where I would say that you could replace all the characters with characters from another race, and I feel like nothing would really change plot-wise, but I do feel like the subtle messaging of what that representation is changes across cultures. So like, if you put all white people in The Photograph, it's basically, it just turns into The Notebook. It turns into a Nicholas Sparks movie. Black people, to like whole cast of black people, that means something different. Just because I think the last movie I can think of that was like a black romance was Queen and Slim, which still had to do with police brutality. So for months and months and years, I've just been like, so can we just get a movie where black people are just like happy and in love, and it's not related to like race or the hood or anything, and I think this accomplished it. And I'm not saying those stories don't matter. I just feel like they oversaturate the market. Is delving way too much into the pain and trauma and the stereotypes within the black community without also addressing the other aspects of the black community. So now and thankfully, that space of it, probably due to Black Panther, has been opened up and expanded for us to explore like Afrofuturism. We have that time travel movie. We have shows like Raising Dion, about a black mother raising a black boy with superhero powers. You get your movies like The Photograph, you get that time traveling one, you get these other, I think there are other movies that are also like this. You just don't hear about them as much. There was one with Sashir Zamata, which I can't remember, but that was another example of something that's like, oh, this doesn't really have to do with race, it's just black people being people, and there are cultural nuances to that. So like if you took The Photograph, changed it with all like Latin and Hispanic people or all Asian people, what that message sends to people and what that means for their cultural dynamics is different, and the way they act and will act and engage with one another is different. The way they're directed will be different if they have like an Asian director or a Spanish director or a white director. So I guarantee you, like, it had this movie had a white director as opposed to a black one, I believe. Black woman, I believe, was the director of this. It would have looked different. It would have moved different. The music and the cinematography would have been shot different. One of the things I really appreciate about this that I learned is that there are vastly different lighting techniques for lighter skin and darker skin in order to best highlight those attributes and what you're trying to convey on the screen. Yeah, just talking about black film and black culture. It's really interesting. I've been really engulfed in it more than usual. I attended a master's class with Oba Baba Tunde. That was great. And I watched this documentary on Netflix called It's named after a Spike Lee movie. Just look it up. You'll find it. Just look up Black documentary. It's about Black Hollywood. And for years I've been wondering, like, why do people love Spike Lee so much? Because I don't like a lot of his movies. I want to. I feel like in terms of concept and story, he is really good. Cinematography, really good. Actual writing, not so much. I like Do the Right Thing. I can't speak on Malcolm X, but from what I've seen, it looks tight. But like, I watched Bamboozled recently off a recommendation, and it's like, oh, it's a hit, it's a classic, it's just so many layers, and I think it is layered in the same way that Shock Treatment, the sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show, is layered in Before Its Time. It is, but I don't think it's particularly good. I love Shock Treatment. I did not like Bamboozled. I did not enjoy that movie at all. From the acting to the writing, I just did not enjoy it. But conceptually, I could understand what Spike was going for. And so in terms of Black Hollywood, it's intriguing to look at what these values are, what they mean, what Black culture means, what Black film means to Black artists and Black creators. And that's kind of why I'm so glad that now, and kind of as we go into the new decade, there is beginning to open up a new space for Black nuance and Black mediocrity. So I'm okay with the photograph just being fine, or I think it's very good, but it just hit me on a lot of personal, notes as well, and that's on a date, and so we're a lot to talk about with that movie. The music is fantastic, absolutely. If you don't see the movie, listen to the soundtrack. It's phenomenal. It's so good. Really got me into jazz for about 48 hours. I think it's really well shot, but I think it's a very good movie. And if you don't, that's fine. I just think it's important to have the space to have those two, because the same way that we get like 13 different mediocre, shoddy romances with different gimmicks, I just like, it's cool to see something about Black people just being in love and it's no gimmick to it. You have an art curator and a reporter that just start to spend time with each other, and there are questions about communication and what that looks like and how important that can be in a relationship, and the difference between what romance is like now as opposed to what romance was like in the 80s, and what that means to people. And just showing male vulnerability was something I noticed too, which was very surprising. I did not expect that at all, but just what that means, how that's expressed. It's not heavily touched upon, but it's one of the more subtle attributes. Just like what is that vulnerability like, and how is that expressed, and all these different things just related to emotion and feeling and just being Black and being in love and heartbreak and stuff like that. So I really like it, and I really recommend it. And I think that going forward, it's okay to make Black stuff that's just okay. And I think we should have more space to have conversations about okay, and how we can go from okay to great, or what makes a Black classic for us and stuff like that. It's just kind of my thoughts about Black culture and movies and stuff like that. I've just been going around and around and around and around in my head, but I think it's, fun times ahead. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. Take your boy, girl, non-binary, whatever person. Go by yourself. Treat yourself. Get food afterward. I went to Cheesecake Factory. It was great. But yeah, if you like this video, check out the rest of my channel. I post videos sometimes. When I have an idea of a video to post, I will work through it and I will post it. So yeah, have a good one. Happy Black History Month. Stay strong in these streets. I'll see you guys next time.